All right, so I wanted to give you guys a walkthrough of where we are on the build so far and what all we've done that's kind of special for this. So starting in the back, we've got the subframe and the control arms are all powder coated. We have all new hardware in the suspension, as you can see. We have new end links for the and bushings for the rear sway bar, new consumables on the CV joints that have been freshly rebuilt. Freshly rebuilt calipers, new pads, new rotors, new CV nuts. We put the spec Miata shocks on from the other Champ cars. We have powder coated, or sorry, not powder coated. We've sandblasted everything underneath and then come back in with just primer to redo it. We found a very rare rear brace here, so we've got a little bit more stiffness in the rear than we've had before. All of the bushings in the control arms are these urethane ones here. We've got the provisions for adding wheel speed sensors later for traction control. However, we were unable to find any uprights that had ABS sensor ports on them. We've got new stainless steel brake lines going to each corner with all new hardware. We've torque marked everything as we've been tightening it up. You see the orange on there. You can even see where we took it apart and had to re-torque mark it. Got a new fuel filter with new hoses. We've got a fully custom one-piece stainless steel exhaust connected with the V-band here. And we've got a rebuilt transmission from E Street Racing, who also built the engine. And up in the front underneath, we've got the same thing with the stainless brake lines, the same paint underneath. We've got the steering rack that came on the chassis, which we'll find out if it's any good or not, but if we have to change that after, it's not really a very big project. And we've got offset bushings in the front here, so it's hard to see a little bit, but you see the control arm is back closer to the center than it is to the middle of the bolt, which gives you more camber in the front, so the front suspension is tilting in because of that. New rotors in the front, new tie rods in the front, new ball joints, new bushings, of course, new rotors, caps in there, and that's about all from underneath. Switch to the top. All right, so up top, starting in the trunk, we've got that hose, the lower hose is new, the clamp is new, the clamps inside are all new. We opened up the fuel tank so that you could put the big Hunsaker fuel nozzles in there and fill it fast and put new hardware in. All the wiring in the back is this one power line going to the front and the solid state overcurrent disconnect. So if we have a short in the front or something, this will save all of the wiring. The main harness comes to that P-clamp there, where it then splits to go to a spares plug in case we put traction control on later. Then we've got motorsport wiring all the way back to the OEM light boxes. Then we've got just a small wire that runs across the other side, and we have, sorry I'm too close, a pull cable here for the trunk latch. Coming around the side, we've got the kill switch and the fire pull. We've got all of the bulkhead openings covered with these laser cut aluminum panels. Bulkheads are free for Champ cars, so we went with these because we didn't have the OEM ones, and these are a little bit nicer and lighter. The wiring going to the back passes through this one bulkhead right here, and all of the main power wires in the car that can be are just attached with these quick connects here, so we can take the car apart as fast as possible. We've got provisions for putting in a chiller that's running just on a fuse, and then we've also got provisions up here for running a cool suit that runs off of a switch on the switch panel. We've got all of the wiring and ECUs are down in the passenger footwell area, and I'll probably have one more go at tightening up that wiring up there. It starts neat and organized, and then as you start adding GPS pucks and monitor cables and stuff there where I don't get to cut the cables to length, we end up with quite a bit extra. A new thing I did on this car is that all of the communications in the car come to this USB port here, which then has an extension cord on it that just stays balled up in the passenger door, so I could sit beside the car with a laptop attached to it and troubleshoot it. We could add aim sensors on the aim hub down there. And we've got on the center console here, which is probably the part you guys will appreciate the most, we've got all of the stuff mounted on a 3D printed, what we call it, tombstone. The button box, the bottom left is the dial to move the brake balance forwards and backwards. The bottom right is the fire extinguisher pull. And the top right is the kill switch for the power for the car. So there's a driver kill switch and an exterior kill switch. We've got the nice fiberglass seat into the car, and we've got it positioned. I think everybody can drive the car in this position, but if not, we can go through another round of changes. We've got the monitor mounted where it sits again. I think everybody can see that monitor through the steering wheel when they're driving. And we got the car like much less cluttered, I think, than any of the other builds up front. There's really as little as you could have up here and still have a good robust spares network. And we'll be able to mount the Flightronix, up there on the front where the other ones were. And that should be it for the interior. Walk around to the engine bay. So up here, continuing with that trend, we've got the power wire to the engine is on this quick release down here, which gets less and less quick release as we add more things, but you can see I have it off. Maybe you can see I have it off. Never mind. Anyways, now it's back on. You heard the click, I'm sure. We've got the surge tank back where it was before. We've got wiring to the wiper and the surge tank all done. We've got the bulkheads, which I haven't sealed yet in case there's a mistake in the engine wiring, but all the engine bulkheads, the engine wiring harness comes off just like that. We've got basically the main trunk of the wiring harness runs up behind the engine, splits into a bunch of spots right there. One comes up the front here to go to the coils, throttle body, and the crank sensor. Then one branch comes over here going to the brake pressure area and the lambda sensor. The little black box there measures the O2 ratio, or the air fuel ratio, sorry, and adjusts the fueling dynamically. It's got a stainless header from Goodwin Racing, I think. This is basically the highest power header that I was able to find for a VVT engine. It's got the fire system nicely installed with tabs. One's up there in the bulkhead, tab on each side. It's got a stainless steel, aluminum coolant reservoir because the plastic reservoirs are actually a little bit hard to find. We welded on a map sensor instead of being airflow based, so the computer can run the car a lot more accurately. We've got all of the, on this car is just two of the fuel pressure and oil pressure sensors are on this vibration isolated bulkhead here. So if you run down here is the oil pressure line, and this one here is the fuel pressure line that are made out of custom. Got cut off there. So we've got the oil pressure and the fuel pressure that come into these sensors, which are on the vibration isolated mount here, so that the sensors aren't exposed to engine vibration, so that they're less likely to fail. And then to add to that, we've got a blank down below and an unused sensor up above. So if we needed to, we could put one of these onto the unused sensor so we could still run the car if we lost one of these two. Then we've got some future-proof wiring over here for oil temperature and steering position. The steering position will be fairly easy to add. Hopefully I get to that before we deliver the car, but we'll see. All new coolant hoses over here. I kind of forget what all I covered before the video dropped. We've got the stainless header over here. I know I didn't cover the pedal box. So this lets you, there's a front and a rear master here, with each with their own fluid reservoir, which means that you can never, in theory, you never fully lose the brakes on the car. Then you've got this bar here that you turn using the red dial inside, and that lets you choose which master gets more pressure and adjust the way the car brakes and which end locks up first. New clutch master. We've got new stainless lines for a bunch of stuff going up to the brake pressure box here where it splits to left and right, and you can see everything's been torqued and checked. All the wiring is labeled on the plugs. All of the the high voltage, or not high voltage, high current, like power distribution stuff is labeled where it goes. Everything is booted appropriately. All the harnesses are held on with P-clamps and such whenever it's reasonable. And all the hoses in the fueling system are high quality AN crimped hoses that very reliable. We welded up a bunch of stuff on the intake manifold here, so we didn't have all the factory emission stuff kind of getting in the way of airflow. We ported the intake manifold as well, actually. Even the ground for the engine is on these rad lock connectors here, which make it a lot easier to work on in the future. And I think that is about it for now. We are waiting for a different toothed gear to come in. Made a mistake there, and Motec prefers to have the stock 4-tooth gear actually, and then I won't have to trick it about the way the intake cam works, which I'd be happy to explain, but I'm not sure you guys are worried about. And that should be about it. Look forward to driving it in, probably be driving it in the parking lot next week here, and then go get it tuned, and then we can take it to the track.